Hey hiya, happy Halloween, everybody. 'Tis the season for scares, snacks, and more than anything else, it's time to dress up in your scariest attire to keep the ghouls and ghosties at bay. With that in mind, what better excuse is there for a little challenge? A while back, I got together with some amazing artists and proposed an idea, a drawing exercise where we take each other's persona and turn them on their head. The prompt? It's time to get evil. Choose a name at random and draw that person's artsona as a villain. Sure, there was one little hiccup I ran into with letting everyone choose a number at random and that being their assigned artist, but I think it's best if you decide how well this fun little exercise turned out. Without further ado, let's get to Apollo, B, Calara, Duchess Celestia, stream, and my very own villainous versions of various vagabonds. Is that too cringe?
Hey, my name is Stream, and I was responsible for designing Fiona Apollo as a villain. I wanted to find something that leaned into a classy villain vibe, something eye-catching but not too over the top, classy without dipping into frilly. I didn't quite want to fall into the whole sleek dress trap that a lot of villainesses tend to lean into. Her character always gave me the vibe of not quite being a big dress girly. My first thought was to put her in some kind of Victorian top accompanied with dress pants, but it felt too plain. But it also didn't feel like an outfit I could easily add flair to. A cape felt like too much. Heavy jewelry was out of the question. Ridiculous hair? It clashed with the vibes. I wanted to go with some kind of dress, but I also didn't want to erase the original vision. And then I was hit with a stroke of genius. I changed the dress pants to shorts and added a half cape, half skirt to said shorts, and voila! Fishnet stockings were a must after I added the shorts, the bare legs just looked too empty, and the knee-high boots pulled the look together to give the vibes that she was really ready to go over and kick your ass if she really needed to. And it added another layer to the design that I felt was kind of lacking.
Howdy! So a bunch of us were given an art prompt to draw one of our fellow artsy commentators as a villain, and I was given the task of vilifying the lovely Calara. So to do so, let's list out a couple of traits. Calara is generally a pretty sweet person, she has a pretty strong moral compass, she's proud of her Indonesian heritage, and she's able to focus a lot of energy and attention to her interests. Luckily, those traits are all pretty easy to turn on their heads if you push them to the extremes, and I did have an idea originally where it kind of tapped into the whole like Indonesian folklore and all of that, but then I remembered that she's a massive Jelsa fan, and instead I just wanted to troll her. So Callie has a huge thing for the ship Jelsa lately, which is Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians and Elsa from Frozen, and because I know Callie and a few others have a preference for fictional men who are basically the perfect devoted beings who can never hurt you, I thought it would be perfect to replace Elsa with Callie and give her a personality that was more reminiscent of the Elsa we saw in the original Frozen concept art, where she's a lot more flamboyant and sure of herself. For the artwork itself, I tried to keep in line with that more eccentric personality by having her be literally carried around by her beloved Jack Frost man candy sculpture, as well as having the typical shoujo anime pose of the pretty or popular girl laughing with her hand near her face. It wasn't coming out too well when I tried to sketch it, but I did also want to give her an endless supply of Jack Frost ice sculptures who are fully devoted to her and carry out her every whim without any autonomy, because nothing says fantabulous villainess like an army of besotted bishy boys, am I right? At least that's the impression I get from all of those villainess webcomics you see floating around. I don't know what the deal is with those things, someone tell me. For the design, I kept her original colour scheme since this is more of a comedic take on her as a villain, as opposed to making her all dark and moody and mysterious, which would have been interesting, but I don't know, I like to lean more towards villains that are more visually unsuspecting. I also tried to give her a clothing design that nodded slightly to the previous design of this one, where I was looking at Indonesian folklore, but Jelsa obviously won out, so instead I personally saw it more as a juxtaposition, since Indonesia is obviously very tropical, but here she is being like a snow ice queen kind of character. Anyway, here's the artwork. Please let me know what you think, and please don't kill me, Callie.
Hello everyone, this is Calimara here, and no, it's not calamari, and no, this is also not my video. I am here today for whatchamacallit's little drawing challenge, and the person I was challenged to draw is Duchess Celestia, with the prompt, "Time to get evil." So I shall be drawing the lovely, amazing, super insightful, and articulate Duchess Celestia as a villain, which you might see kind of taking form right now with those cat-like eyes. The concept I went with for this prompt is Evil Queen, because Duchess, but I kind of veer off this concept a little bit to more of like a mad god kind of look, which you'll see when I start coloring in. And I think the philosophy that I wanted to go with for this redesign is to kind of do opposite of Duchess's usual aesthetic, which is very soft and symmetrical and very like frilly. So I wanted to go for something more simple, streamlined, and asymmetrical. And I'm trying to incorporate like more sharp shapes because sharper shapes tend to kind of communicate more of an intimidating, unapproachable feel befitting of a villain. And I don't really have a lot of time, so I'm not gonna be doing line art. I'll just be throwing colors onto the sketch. And speaking of throwing colors, here I go. So recently I've been really liking this kind of soft, loose watercolor coloring style, so that's what I'm gonna be doing here. And the idea here is to use Duchess's original color, mute it down a little bit where necessary, and really turn her into a blood-stained goddess, creating this kind of contrast between the divine and pure and innocent with corruption and death. I think that was the idea, at least. Mostly because I noticed that Duchess includes these constellations in her design, so I wanted to include that as part of the encroaching dark magic that she wields. And here is the final look. I hope you guys like it. I wish I had more time to work on it, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
Okay, this prompt was a lot of pressure for me because I love villains more than 90% of protagonists, and it is subsequently very important for me to depict their vibes with the adequate immaculateness. Which I don't think I did, but I sure as hell tried, and I most definitely took it way too seriously. Stream sent her character sheets and references on Discord, but said that she didn't have a particular preference as to which outfit or design was used, so the natural first step was to interrupt my wife's work to demand her opinion on which one she thought looked evilest. She said the poofy sleeve crop top one with the necklace, I agreed, and I proceeded to destroy that design with as many edgy villain stereotypes as I could. I wanted to give her a super tall collar because I just roasted that character design trope in a video, but I felt like it was too much of a departure from the original look of the shirt. Instead, I went with like an evil mage vibe and used the teardrop shape of the original design's necklace as inspiration for the rest of the glowy jewelry I added, that I distantly hoped would convey the "these are glowing 'cause I'm magic" vibe. I didn't mean for the one on her belt to look like a Genshin Impact vision, but the subconscious does what it does, I guess. But because that wasn't evil enough on its own, I gave her glowy tattoos to really drive it home, because everyone knows that sharp patterns are menacing and people with tattoos are evil. To be clear, I have a million tattoos, I promise I'm joking. I mean, either I'm joking or I'm evidence that people with tattoos are evil, I don't know. It's up to you. Anyway, then I made sure to have her backlit by an ominous blood moon and looking down on the viewer to make her look even more dramatic and imposing, and reinforce that the vibe is not just I'm glowing because I'm magic, but also I use that magic to commit crimes. And yeah, there we have my masterpiece. I don't know how well it turned out, but she definitely looks like she can and will kill me and forget about it over a nice cup of coffee, and I'll take that as some kind of a victory. Thank you to Mark for the opportunity to join in on this little challenge, and double thank you to Stream for letting me destroy her design with it. In that regard, maybe I'm the real villain.
There you go, Mark. You get all my preliminary... Oh, recording cracks. I got the knee today, bitch! Alright, So, in order to turn Mark into the best villain version of themselves that I could, I opted to switch up the vibes, the colors, and the clothing distribution. I wanted to create the impression that this was Mark as they could have manifested in another reality. Mark's default outfit gives me a very nostalgic vibe, very childlike and innocent. Not necessarily cluttered, but definitely with patches of concentrated detail, combined with a color scheme dominated mostly by green and secondarily by yellow. The obvious color switch was purple and red, perfect colors
for a villain. There are lots of different counters that one could make for a childlike and visually inviting character, but I decided to go with a sort of formal punk look. Mark's original design was asymmetrical, so I thought a villain version might focus more on symmetry, even in instances where you wouldn't expect it. If you've ever seen punk jackets, you know that not only are they asymmetrical, but they're also typically very cluttered. So a design that maintains a punk aesthetic but offsets that expectation already clues you in that something isn't quite right here. This meant that I also had to change up the hairstyle a little bit. The only asymmetrical facets that I ended up keeping were the patches around the collar to tie into Mark's stickers. Again, all in white, very unlike what you would normally see with punks, so something looks off. Originally, I was gonna go with a bit of cloak design, but with the purple it just seemed too maleficent. So I asked Mark directly what kind of villains they favored, and the answer of top hat villains helped to bring about the twin tail punk jacket combo. Since Mark has bare legs, covered arms, and a face full of stickers, I switched to covered legs, bare arms, and tattoos. Instead of the cutesy, helpful Triceratops fanny pack, now we have a set of cumbersome and intimidating Triceratops skulls, now to match Mark's own brand new monstrous traits. Like they've killed their own kind for the sake of an aesthetic choice. I ended up using a lot of triangles in this design, both to direct your attention to the face and imply that this character is dynamic and possibly not one to be trusted or trifled with. There you go, a villain Mark. Hope you like it!
So when first starting on Bee's villain redesign, I really wanted to go for the Emperor Squid thing. I know that Bee's usually like an octopus and stuff like that, but I really like the idea of the villainous Emperor vibe. So when designing this outfit, I wanted to incorporate a lot of the kind of sleek designs that you'd get from a cephalopod like that. I also kind of made them a bit of a JoJo, like you are the JoJo, but also the JoJo stand at the same time. I hope that's cool. I just really liked the idea of adding this cool, like, Emperor Sigma hat. I think it really completes the look, and like switching out the bill for the bangs to have the shiny eye on it. I really liked doing that. I hope you find it a cool detail too. I don't know. Also for like these scallops on where the coat bottom connects to each other, I wanted it to kind of look like the kind of trumpets, I don't know what they're called, on cephalopods that you see like either over where their tympanic membranes would be or where their eyes are. I just thought that would be a fun idea to add to the cephalopoid aesthetic. Of course, you gotta have some fishnets, because what's a good emo gothy look without having some fishnets? And I just like adding gossamer fabric. I think it adds a really nice bit of visual intrigue, and especially to something that's supposed to be a bit more diaphanous, like this cephalopod look that I was going for. I think it just really adds to it. I know that cephalopods don't have scales whatsoever, but I really liked adding that as a detail onto the rendering of all of these tentacles and the cephalopod head itself, because I think that just kind of adds a bit to the feeling that there's something wrong here, like something isn't quite right with this creature. I really wanted to sell the kind of hidden horrors underneath this coat skirt thing, along with adding some extra rendering to the front flap to make it look kind of like waves. I hope that looks like it, like it's like light on water. I was really going for that aesthetic. To try and get a good feel for the right personality I wanted to give off with this redesign, I went and watched some of Bee's commentary videos, including the one where they like rip their face off. I really liked that piece. That was a good art piece. So I tried to incorporate the kind of vibe I got from that into this project, which resulted in this kind of trad gothy, almost Cinnabite-esque imperial squid look. Overall though, this project was a lot of fun and a really good learning experience for organizing something like this, including how different matchups were made for these villain assignments. Luckily, nobody chose their own names somehow, but when it came down to the very end, it was just Bee at the first listing and me at the 6th. And so when it came down to it and Bee ended up choosing me, the only one left was Bee. So in the future, when we do more of these, I'll try and make sure that nobody, you know, is basically just doing an exchange instead of like a random assortment. I don't want to just assign things, but I'll figure it out. I really appreciate you guys doing this silly project with me. It was a whole lot of fun, and I hope you guys had fun getting to kind of flex your creativity a little bit and just be silly with it. So here's our final look at our villainous Bee evil emperor Cinnabite, whatever you want to call them. I think that they turned out really cool. I might have added a few more spikes, maybe. That's one thing I might change, but I hope you like it. Thank you guys again for doing this collaboration with me. I hope we can do more in the future because I had so much fun doing this one. At first, this was gonna just be a for us sort of thing, you know, only for the Discord, but I'm glad that Callie convinced me to post this video publicly. You know, with the way she was twisting my arm to do it. Dumb. Also, can I just say how awesome the design Bee did for me is? Like, they've never seen my dragon VTuber model as far as I'm aware of, so it's really neat that they just intuited my likes, even down to the horns and the front little hair wispies. Ugh, I love it so much, and would love to make it into an outfit for my future VTuber model. Bee, I'll hit you up about that later. Speaking of love, I love my one Dabulicious patrons very, very much. Thank you guys for supporting me. I know I said the Flatland video is coming out next, but it's kind of a bore to edit. Like, B-O-A-R as in big pig, not boring. I'm having so much fun working on it, but it's a movie. I'm sorry, it's a movie of a video. But at our brother, sibling, sister tier, we have Viri, Miss Mercurial, Minnow, and Ash Valentine. At our mommies, daddies, and guardians tier, we have Mary and Kai. And at our gods, goddesses, and deities tier, we have Inside Chaos, Agent Ness, and Gods and Punks. Thank you all again so much for your support. It really means the world to me. And thank you for getting to the end of this video. If you made it this far, go ahead and leave a red rose emoji in a comment. Or just the word rose, so I know that you made it to the end of the video like a real one. I love you guys very, very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I hope you have an absolutely scrabdangulous, wondelabulous day. Bye-bye!